Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's math lesson. This week we'll be talking about expressions and equations. Before we get into the lesson, very quickly, we're going to go back over some vocabulary that we've probably seen before. Our first vocabulary term is variable. A variable is a letter or symbol used to represent a value. So, for example, in kindergarten, they may have given you a problem that said square plus 2 equals 4, and then asked you what the value of the square was. Later on, they replaced the square with a letter. For example, a plus 2 equals 4. In this case, the square and a are known as a variable. It's just a letter or symbol that's used to represent a value. In this case, we know that the square and a both represent the value 2. Our next vocabulary term is constant. A constant is a value that does not change, or a number. For example, the number 3 is always going to be the number 3. It's always constant. It's never changing. Our next vocabulary term is coefficient. A coefficient is the number that is in front of the variable. So, for example, in an expression, you may have 4x. In this term, the coefficient is 4. In expressions, you will have a term. A term is simply a number or variable within an algebraic expression. So expressions are made up of terms, and terms are made up of numbers or variables. Now that's just a quick recap over some of our vocabulary. You would have seen that in 6th grade, but we just wanted to go ahead and go back over that again. Now here's an example of how all of these pieces come together to make an expression. So here you see the expression 5x minus 3. Noticing that the 5 in front of the x is the coefficient, the x is known as a variable, 3 is a constant. Now 5x minus 3 is an expression where 5x is one term in the expression and 3 is the other term. So all of these pieces coming together to make an algebraic expression. Now, our goal for this week is to use algebraic properties in order to identify and create simplified algebraic expressions. So when we're talking about expressions, a lot of times we get really complicated expressions, and we want to know how to break those down. For example, let's make it really basic. So at one point in time, you may have seen a problem like 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. Now we know that 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is the same as 4 plus 4. Now 4 plus 4 looks a lot less complicated than 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. The same concept stays true when we add in an algebraic expression. So 4 plus A plus A plus A plus A. This is the same as saying 4 plus 4A, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 A's. Now, there are specific names for the properties that we use to get it from 4 plus A plus A plus A plus A to 4 plus 4A. let's talk about those two properties that we will use in order to simplify expressions. The first property that we will use is called the distributive property. The distributive property means that I can take a number that is outside the parentheses and can distribute or multiply it by everything inside parentheses. Now notice when I say that it's outside parentheses, that it has to be right up next to the parentheses, leaning against those parentheses in order to distribute it. Now when I say distribute, that means that I can multiply the number leaning against parentheses by everything inside parentheses. So in this example, we have 2 times x plus 3. I can take that 2 and distribute it to the x and to the positive 3. So 2 times x plus 2 times 3, which simplifies to 2x plus 6. This is the simplified version of 2 times x plus 3. The next property that we can use is the associative property. The associative property pretty much just means that I can combine terms that are alike. So let's look at this expression. Something that I like to do to kind of categorize my like terms is to use symbols or shapes that kind of keep them in the same category. Now, in order to combine like terms, they have to be identical. When I say identical, I mean they either have to be constants or they have to have the same variable. So the first term that I come to is 2x squared. I go through my expression and notice that there is no other x squared in this expression. So there's nothing I can combine with 2x squared. The next one that I come to is the constant of positive 5. Notice I put a square around my constant. Now going through my expression, I come to another constant of negative 10. So these are 2 like terms that can be combined. What is 5 minus 10? 5 minus 10 is negative 5. I keep that negative symbol in front of my 5 when putting it back in my expression. Okay, next I come to negative 2y. Going through my expression, I have another variable y, and it's positive 3y. Now what is negative 2 plus 3? It is positive 1y. And the last ones that I come to are positive 3x and positive 2x. 3 plus 2 is 5. Now, something very important to remember when we're talking about simplifying expressions is that they have to be written in a certain way. Just like any other type of sentence, you have grammar that you have to use. Well, in mathematical sentences, we have to put them in a certain order in order for them to be correct. In this case, we had to put them in alphabetical order. So the letter that would come first, or the variable, is 2x squared. The next one would be 5x. Y comes after x, so y would come next. And then our constant always comes last because it does not have a variable. And this is the correct way to write your simplified expression. Now we have a few practice problems that I want you to do on your own. Use the distributive and associative properties to simplify the following expressions. Take just a few minutes and work through problems 1 through 6. Now that you've worked through the problems on your own, let's talk through them together. In number 1, I can use the distributive property to say 6 times 10 and 6 times negative 50. Six times t is 6t. 6 times negative 50 is negative 300. So your simplified expression is 6t minus 300. Number 2, I can use the distributive property again to distribute negative 5 to x and negative 5 to negative 2. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. So the simplified expression for number 2 is negative 5x plus 10. In number 3, I have like terms that I can combine, negative 5x and positive 3x. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2x. Because I don't have anything to combine y with, I just drop it down. So my simplified expression is negative 2x plus 2y. Now number 4 gets a little more complicated because we have to use what we know about fractions in order to be able to combine like terms. I'm trying to combine 1/3 x plus 1/6 x, but I have to find a common denominator. The denominator that's common between 3 and 6 is 6, which means I have to multiply 1/3 times 2 in order to get a common denominator. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So 2/6x plus 1/6x equals 3/6x. Now we know that 3/6 will simplify to 1/2. I've combined 1/3 x and 1/6 x, so I'm finished with those. Because there's nothing for me to combine y with, I'll just drop it down. And my simplified expression is 1/2 x plus y. Moving on to number 5 and number 6. In number 5, I have to use both the distributive property and the associative property to simplify my expression. First, I have to distribute negative 5 to x and positive 2. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times positive 2 is negative 10. Then I just bring down the rest of my expression. Now I can work to combine my like terms. In this case, I'm combining negative 5x and negative 10x. Negative 5 plus negative 10 is negative 15x. Next, I have to combine my constants. Negative 10 plus 20 is 10. So my simplified expression is negative 15x plus 10. Now number 6 is a lot like number 4, where I have to find a common denominator in order to combine my like terms. What's common between 5 and 3? 15 is the correct answer. In order to get 5 to 15, I have to multiply it by 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. So 3/15 x. In order to get 3 to 15, I have to multiply it by 5. 5 times 10, or 5 times 2, 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. Three minus 10 is going to give me a negative 7. Because there's nothing for 10 to be combined with, I just drop it down. And so my simplified expression is negative 7/15 x plus 10. That's all for today, guys. Go ahead and do your interactive practice. And if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to contact me. Thanks.